Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Spice Cup. It is now the conclusion of the third round, and in the third round I was paired up against Jose Eduardo Martinez Alcantara from Peru. I believe he's studying now in the United States. He is Jospin on chess.com. You might have seen him play in Title Tuesday, might have seen him play against Hikaru. Super strong player. I have drawn him before in e4 c6. It was an exchange Caro-Kann. And he also streams in Spanish, I think. So I'm going to put his link in the description. Go check him out on Twitch. And remember that all my courses are 33% off. Use code SPICE. All the shout-outs are out of the way. Now, before the game, I had a feeling he was going to play e4, especially because he knows he's going to get a Caro-Kann. And online, he has played this line a lot, which is like super trendy nowadays. And White's point is to play DE and go for something like this. I didn't think he was going to do this because it's like, why are you trading queens move 4? You know, in Blitz, it's one thing, but against like me, 2360, like, why would you do that? So I reviewed a little bit, but I had a suspicion that he was actually going to play the advanced Caro-Kann. And again, there's c5 and bishop f5. I saw that he was playing h4 a lot, and I figured that this was now the time to showcase my newest weapon. Because, you know, my whole life I have played h4, h5. Sometimes I'll play queen c8, there's other moves, but I finally was going to play h6. Shout out to the best coach in the world, Wojciech Miranda. I was like studying this line for a very long time, and I had everybody who I was trying to get h4 against wouldn't play it against me. And my line here, there's a lot of lines, like you can retreat this way, you can retreat this way, but I like to go here to induce a weakness of f3, and now some dark squares, and now bishop h7. And White here only has one way to play for an advantage, and White has to do this because you need to make me damage my own structure and weaken my light squares. It's a very common idea. This is actually in my e4 course. This whole h4 line is in my e4 course for the White side. 33% off. Use code SPICE. You see, clearly this gentleman has it. Well, maybe not. And so now Black plays queen d6 to prompt White to take and also threaten queen g3. Now, theory here runs f4. This is the critical main move. Of course, he knows it. Online, I very rarely get the critical main line because no one knows what the hell they're doing. So I haven't had a chance to practice this, but I have been studying it a lot. And in my last, my Norm event, I thought I was going to get this. So knight f6, and now White has a couple of moves. Bishop h3 is the most natural to try to play g5. It's a little bit slow and allows Black to get back into the game with moves that I'm not going to leak because I don't know what strong players watch my recaps, and I don't want them to know what my notes say. That's honestly the truth. But it's a little bit slow. The main line is knight f3, sacrificing the pawn on g4 completely, but Black's king is very open. Knight e5 is possible. Now, I remembered here the move h5, and h5 is the move that has been played the most, and it's very sharp. And I even think like queen e6, knight e5, take. This is all like relatively normal. And I believe you at some point play this move g5. This is like a very important move. And hg, queen g6, like bishop h3 tries to come to this diagonal, etc., etc. I don't exactly remember, or maybe I'm just lying, but I know that h5 is a move. You can also just move your king out of the way, but he played this. And this move I completely forgot about. Now, if you look at the database, this move has been played like 5 times. And the whole point is that if Black just goes back, let's say, White will go here and like here, and for the cost of 1 pawn, just absolutely slaughter Black's center. So I figured I didn't want to go for that. I was trying to remember my notes over the board, and I came to the conclusion it must be the move h5. As completely insane as that looks, allowing the knight to jump to both of these squares, that turned out to be the move in my notes, because it doesn't really matter if White ends up winning this pawn back, because you still have the bishop, and you still have development, and White's pawns are completely split. White is super overextended, but of course White still has a game of chess here. He played knight e5. And he blitzed it, like he just played it super fast. And I was trying to figure out what exactly is wrong with this. And to be honest with you, the only reason I didn't play it is because he played knight e5 so fast. I figured that just going up a pawn but letting him have all this control just didn't look like it made any sense. Even if I get a check, I mean, even with all this, I think White is winning here. And yeah, White is plus 2.5. welcome to the world of the advanced Karo Khan, like at the Grandmaster level. So I decided to just play King E8. Now, I think you can also play King G8, and after this game, I'm really going to work on this file. Like, I'm just going to use Stockfish and just, like, you know, tighten the holes of this file, and it'll be great. I decided to play King E8, and from the deepest, darkest corner of my mind, I vaguely remember that there was an Anish Giri game. And he played a game that went Bishop G4, HG4, Queen G4, Knight D7, and here, check. Anish played check with white. I don't remember against who, and I saw the game afterward. I was analyzing the game, obviously, before I make this recap. And yeah, he did in fact have a game. You guys can look it up, and you know, for the dedicated fans, put a comment. But yes, this is the way chess works. You like follow the best game. I mean, I'm sure maybe he knew this game as well. And the reason I didn't want to go for this is because I was like, what the hell am I doing? Why would I voluntarily shut down my... Well, it's not voluntary, actually. He 100% forced me to do it. Why would I do this? And the engine thinks that, you know, black can play like Bishop G8 and try to, like, just sack this pawn. I mean, there's many lines you just give the pawn completely away because you just can't hold on to it. I decided that this looked really dumb and instead came up with something over the board, which Stockfish, on a slightly lower depth, I don't have it analyzed it fully, likes even better than the move that was in my notes. Apparently. That move is the absolutely sexy Bishop E4. And here my opponent spent like 28 minutes. Like, he thought a long time. Here's the idea. If he checks me, and I go here, and he takes, and he wins my rook, well, his rook is hanging, so he hasn't really impressed anybody. And this endgame is just not any better for white. Middle endgame. I mean, if anybody's better, here it's black. I have the bishop pair. His knight is a lot slower to get out of the corner. I'm going to mobilize my forces. I'm going to be completely fine. Now, if he plays... Queen C8 check, Queen D8, and takes this. This is something I was like laughing about. I take his rook, he takes, and at first I was actually thinking to play Rook H4. And I probably would have ended up playing it. I was also thinking to like box in his queen somehow, because if he tries to get it out, I'm not sure this is any improvement. I actually think that black might be winning here. Like Rook H6, Rook E6, like this is, yeah, black is winning here according to the computer. So I was like, dude, if he goes off venturing over here, like everything is good for me. But I can also just take, and then take on h4, and this is probably a draw. It's probably a draw because I back my bishop up and play rook h1, and somehow we'll have a perpetual, but I wasn't sure at all that this was good for white. So he did this, and then went back. He wasn't offering me a draw. His idea was to force this and play rook h2, just defend the c2 pawn, but his queen has no way out, right? And at this point, we're both completely on our own. Now, I actually thought I got the better of the opening. I mean, I thought I had no problems. The only problem is it's an incredibly complicated position. So what are my options? My options are knight d7, trade off the knight, and then trade off the queen, and just basically try to say that, like, I'm completely fine. If anybody's playing for anything, it's black. And I saw a couple of other ideas. Obviously, white's next move is knight c3 to try to attack my bishop, right? White is going to play bishop e3, knight c3, and castle, if I do absolutely nothing. If I do absolutely something, the question is, what do I do? So I thought about playing g6. G6 was really interesting. The point of g6 was to play knight c3 and just bishop f5. Just bishop f5. And like, for example, bishop e3, I don't know, knight a6, king c7, knight d7. I actually thought about this. The only reason I didn't go g6 was, I actually thought he could play something like c4. I wasn't sure here. I thought he would just not play knight c3. I thought he can quickly do this, and if I try to continue in the same way, like now he just has an extra oomph. The pawn is attacking my queen, and yeah, I don't know, it's wildly complicated. I mean, g6 is one option, but I just decided to go knight d7, and here, I'm actually this is the only frustrating thing about this entire game. It was an absolutely fascinating game. You still don't know the result. I know you're predicting stuff because of the title, but you're also confused, because normally when I lose a game, I'm in a bad mood, so what happened? Did I clickbait you with the title? Did I win this game, actually? Did I draw this game? I don't know. You're just going to have to sit and find out. I actually thought about the move queen b4 here, or knight e5 here and queen b4. I didn't like this because I thought his queen gets back. Not there, but like there. But I really wanted to play queen b4, and I was fascinated with this move because it doesn't let him move his bishop, or he can, but he would lose b2. But I'm also pinning him, and I'm also attacking this pawn. It was a really interesting move. I couldn't bring myself to play it because I couldn't help but feel like I was going to just weaken my king too much. But the engine is just unafraid. Here it plays this absolutely ludicrous, I mean, I don't even know what that is. But, you know, A3, like, it's still a super complicated game. The only frustrating thing is queen b4 actually would have kind of halted his development, but I just kept going with my plan of trading. And he played queen f2, nothing I didn't expect, and now I have to consolidate, okay? So, I was under the impression that he wanted to give me this check and not let me consolidate, but actually that check does nothing, because I can just trade bishops. And even though my king is out in the open, I bring my rook, I bring back my bishop, I slide my queen over, I have absolutely zero problems. So he decided that he was going to play bishop e3, which I absolutely expected. Part of me was thinking to go bishop b4. The problem is that I think this trade is idiotic. I don't care what the engine says. I was so uncomfortable giving up my dark squared bishop. I just thought he's going to bring his rooks, his queen. Yeah, I mean, the engine is saying to go here and then, like, play like this, but which kind of normal effing human plays? I mean, that's just... Shut up. You know nothing about chess, Stockfish. Stockfish 10, by the way, because chess.com won't load a better one. Anyway, bishop e3. I decided to go here, and this was the biggest decision of the game. So I wanted to just play king d7. I also wanted to play bishop f5 to get out of the way of the knight, and I also wanted to play rook f8 immediately going like this. And the whole time I was thinking, what does white want? If I play king d7, white is going to go rook g1, obviously. Now, I couldn't figure out what the hell I was supposed to do, because if I slide back, he will take my bishop, and if I take with the queen, let's not forget that I was defending this pawn. I'm now down a pawn, and my king, they're knocking on his door because he owes somebody money. They're about to beat his ass. So that's not very good at all. And if I take with the d-pawn, I mean, this is a weakness forever. This is just much better for white. So, what I thought I had to do after king d7 was play rook g1, rook f8. Danger levels. But I rejected this because I think queen e2 is super strong. Queen d2 fails to an absolutely beautiful move. Sack my queen, back rank, and bishop f3. Or like take and bishop f3. I mean, this was like fascinating that the geometry of the position doesn't let him escape my rook and bishop. But the problem is, and the reason I didn't go for this particular variation is queen e2. And yeah, the computer agrees. So I can't really be mad I didn't go for this because, again, the problem is that he's too strong. Like, he just has a bit too much activity. I need one more move to consolidate everything, and I can't. I can't guard everything in my position. So, which brings you to bishop f5, but I just thought bishop f5 was also too slow. I just thought it was all too slow because now he's going to go knight e2. Now he has another piece coming to the party. Rook g1, bishop g5, you know, everybody's coming to the party. I miss System of a Down. And by the way, if you like System of a Down, you should listen to their lead singer's solo stuff. Serge Tankian, I think is his name. Empty Walls. I'm a cultured guy, all right? It's not just chess here. If it was just chess, I'd be a GM. I'm not, though. So, anyway, just for my System of a Down fans. Yeah, so I decided to just play rook f8 right away. So I rejected bishop f5 and king d7 in favor of rook f8. That's the way, like, chess works. And of course, he played the best move, which I also did see. We were on the same page, queen g1. And I couldn't figure out what to play here. The position was super annoying. If I take his queen, then he gets everything he wants, and it's really hard for me to protect this pawn and the damaging of my own structure. So I wanted a situation where I can get king d7, some rook move, and double my rooks, and with a queen trade and my bishop getting out of the way, I was actually fine. So I was like, okay, I need to force him to do something. Okay? I gotta force him to do something. So what am I gonna force him to do? Well, let's force him to trade my queen. And I played the move rook f3. That forces him to trade my queen because, or not trade my queen, or do something. Take my bishop, take my queen, whatever. And here we both, actually it's funny, I blundered it when I played it. I played this move, I got up, and like, you know, he's playing super fast, so like I'm down maybe 20 minutes, but I have enough time to actually think and process everything. And I played rook f3, and I'm like walking around confident, you know, I'm gonna get king d7, boom, but like, and I'm like, wait a minute, I just lost the game. I just lost the game. My bishop doesn't cover g2 anymore. He just plays rook g2, the game is over. He just wins like there's nothing. I mean, it's just completely nothing. I just blundered this. Just completely forgot rook g2. Which means that the whole position's really difficult, actually, if not rook f3. Maybe I play queen h7, but again, knight e4. Like, he's gonna try to win my pawns. The engine says to just play this first, which you'll see I played later. And again, the idea is to preemptively protect g7 and go for this, and with like g6 or I don't know, something like this, and black is completely fine. Black is fine. Everything is protected. Yeah, rook f7 right away would have been smarter, but I played rook f3, and then he played this, and I was like, what? This dude didn't play rook g2, but it's still a problem, because what I had calculated after knight takes e4, way back, I calculated this back here, was rook f8, queen g1, rook f3, knight e4, queen e4. He's going to go for my bishop because it's right next to my king, and then I'm going to go back to f7, and that's exactly what happens. So I play rook f7, and in my mind, I was like, okay, if takes, takes. I'm not afraid of this check. I'm going to double my rooks. I'm going to trade queens. I'm trying to stabilize. I'm trying to hold. And rook f2. And I was like, rook f2 is not a problem. It's just not, this move is not an issue. Because I take, and then I take, and then I just go king e7. I just was like, there's no problems here. Rook f1 is nothing. I just have this. And then I realized this all is very much a problem. Now, the engine here wants me to lose a pawn in a rook endgame. So if I play g6, I'm going to lose because I'm too slow. I can defend this pawn, but I cannot defend that pawn. So I'm just going to lose because he has way too much activity. What the engine recommends is for me to go for this endgame. Now, I personally think this is still losing, particularly because white just has g6. Like, if white doesn't have that move, for whatever reason, I can go like here, now I'm fine. But the problem is that white will just beat me to liquidating my position. Oh, that would be nice. To liberating my position and, right? So it's all one move. So I decided to play king e7. I got to my position. I was like, okay, now we're in the clear, picking up this pawn. And then I realized that like everything I had foreseen 7-8 moves ago, might still just be completely lost. Because even though we're material completely equal, and seems like the worst is over, he slides over here. And between the control of this diagonal and the open file, I can't protect my king. The queen is completely shut off from the rest of the board. So I played this to sidestep check. He played king b1 to sidestep this pawn being taken with check when he moves his queen. And here I thought I set an absolutely nasty trap. I thought I set a really, really nasty trap. And I think I can defend this a little bit better than I did in the game. But I played rook h8, which I thought was so clever. And now if he plays queen a3 to try to go queen d6, try to find the defensive move for black, which saves the game. I was really hoping to detonate this on him, but he unfortunately saw it. Queen f5. Queen sacrifice for back rank mate. And if queen d6, something like this, now I have officially kicked his rook from the open file, and I can do anything. I can play a6, I can make a getaway for my king, and kick out his queen. And okay, it's probably a draw because I just have a bit too many weaknesses to actually get anything. But I really wanted to hit him with that, and then he played a4. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm in danger. Yeah, there's nothing here. I mean, queen a3, queen d6 is coming. I tried to defend as best I could. I created counterplay against c2, but even just this very simple pawn march. King is protected, queen drills down over here, and the pawns are coming. And he broke through, and right here, I resigned because queen c8 is coming, and there's nothing. You know, this is why playing Grandmasters sucks, okay? I'm not in a bad mood at all. Like, I played all my prep for the first time, like 12 moves of it, improvised at the board, and actually improved on the only 2 games that have ever been played here, Geary vs. someone and some other game. Had a super complicated game, which came down to multiple critical moments, like whether or not to go for knight d7, knight e5, or to go for g6, or to throw in queen b4 to paralyze the position. And ultimately, when the dust settled, I was left in a position that was slightly unpleasant, that I had to be uber accurate to defend. And the way I played it was not uber accurate, but he missed one knockout punch, but the position was still fruitful enough that he had a lasting degree of pressure. And right when I thought we were in the clear, you know, homeboy outplayed me and got the win. So that's why the title is what it is. Can't be in a bad mood. I literally did everything possible. everything possible. If I could lose games like this to Grandmasters, I would be very happy. All my titles of my videos would not be depressed, and you wouldn't be left wondering if I'm, gonna walk through traffic. So, good fight. I'm gonna go get some rest, I'm gonna go get some food, and I will be back for round number 4. Get out of here.